Ryan, but I do regret getting married in prison so fast.
8 months after calling it quits, Gypsy Rose Blanchard has reached a settlement in her divorce from Ryan Anderson.
It's difficult because we're happy, and it's one of those where I thought we were happy too.
According to TMZ, the 33-year-old and her ex-husband agreed on no spousal support, but the division of community property is still on the table. The outlet, however, says a judge hasn't signed off on the settlement yet.
I'm accepting things. Wasn't my choice, but you have to dust yourself off.
Gypsy filed for divorce from Ryan in April, nearly 2 years after the pair tied the knot in a prison ceremony while she was serving time for the second-degree murder of her mother, Dee Dee.
It was just something that I had to learn on my own. I had to come out and live with a partner that I had known for 3 years. As we went through ups and downs in our relationships, but actually living with someone is so much different.
The divorce settlement comes as Gypsy's expecting her first child with boyfriend Ken Erker. The pair rekindling their romance after her split from Ryan.
Ken and I have always remained friends, even after our breakup in 2019, when my marriage was over and I walked away. That's when Ken and I was developing a reconnection and starting to find that, okay, back in 2019 and 2017, it wasn't the right time for us. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm free, we're able to reconnect and see if that right time is now.
And is it?
It is. Everything's going really good with us. So.
I would confront Gypsy and she would always be like, I'm not talking to him, so.
And you think she was? You think she was lying?
In hindsight, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, now the split has happened. You find out certain things. So, at the time I didn't believe it. That she wasn't talking, to him, but it is what it is. I'm blindsided about how fast the process went. It was just shocking at how fast it went from this to that to now I'm with Ken and I'm in love with him.
Gypsy announced she and Ken were having a baby on her YouTube channel back in July.
We're both very excited. This was not planned at all. It was completely unexpected, but we're both very excited to take on this new journey of parenthood.
The parents-to-be are expected to welcome a baby girl in January.
All that matters is making sure that I'm healthy, the baby's healthy, my relationship with Ken is healthy, and we are moving forward in a positive way.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard settles her divorce with Ryan Anderson. Sources tell TMZ that the judge has officially signed the divorce papers, meaning they both can get their copies now. But she would have known that the day she went into court. What is said by the judge that day when he orders the judgment is that he's granting the divorce, it's done. But a lot of times judges don't sign the paper and give you a copy. It can take weeks sometimes to get your copy. However, it's done. It was done and finalized the day she went into court, and that's what the hearing was for. But it is now completely settled because the judge has signed off on the paperwork. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is finally putting her first marriage behind her. Looks like both she and Ryan Anderson have reached a settlement in their divorce. According to a court clerk, a judge hadn't yet signed off on it. That's typically how it goes. Ryan's lawyer, Jeffrey Carrier, tells TMZ his client skipped the court appearance to save on those pricey attorney fees. And why would he? She's pregnant by somebody else. He wasn't going to contest it. The whole situation is incredibly sad because she is bringing a baby into the world and she uses that baby as a crutch, as an excuse, as her saving grace. It's the same way her mom did with Gypsy. And the fact that she's bringing a baby into the world not in the same exact way that Dee Dee and Rod brought her into the world, in a worse way. Her mom may have had some petty little shit in her criminal history or in her past, but she didn't take somebody's life, and Gypsy did. And the fact that she's able to capitalize and monetize her crime is beyond disgusting to many people out here in the real world who can see her words, choices, actions, and behaviors for exactly what they really are. Jeffrey explained to us that Ryan and Gypsy had been living apart for 6 months, so they went ahead with a new cause of action and wrapped up with uncontested divorce. That sped things up, letting them finalize it before the original January 2025 date. And the reason why she did the DNA test, it wasn't for closure for Ryan. It was for the court. And I've been telling everybody that from the beginning. She didn't want Ryan to contest anything in court, and she wanted to be able to show the judge, look, I did this test. It's not my husband. He knows that. I know that. Ken knows that. I want to get this done and over with, and I want to get this divorce finalized because she could have the baby anytime from now until her due date. And that child, I believe that Gypsy Rose has been plotting and planning to marry Ken. I think she wants to give birth. The Lifetime cameras are there documenting her giving birth to her first child. I think that she's trying to do a wedding special with Lifetime for more money. And if Ken goes ahead with it, that's just going to be even more obvious to everybody that he's only come back when there's cameras and money and attention and what he feels is fame, because he abandoned her. He left her. He dumped her in 2018, and he was with another woman for 5.5 years. And that's just absolutely crazy to me that he only shows back up when the cameras and the attention and the fame and her release and her book and her docuseries and then the reality show comes out. All of a sudden, Ken wants back in. That's despicable. The exes already agreed on no spousal support, but the division of community property is still on the table. It was a quick marriage, but these are some contracts still hanging in the balance. What, Pixie? What community property? The division of $15,000 that's sitting in a bank account? No, Ryan doesn't make enough money to have spousal support taken from him, and they were not married long enough for that to have occurred. Gypsy doesn't make enough money to pay spousal support. From my understanding, they weren't together long enough for either of them to ask for spousal support from each other. But as far as community property, an apartment or a dog, both of which she had no interest in whatsoever. So I don't see how, what division of what community property. She took her stuff and she left and she went to her dad's house. But it says here, this update comes 8 months after Gypsy Rose filed for divorce from Ryan, who she married in July of 2022 when she was still incarcerated, for the role she played in Mother Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard's murder. I wish you mainstream media and news outlets would stop letting them and her manager and all of her sources tell you for the role she played. The role she played was first-degree premeditated murder. Missouri statute for homicide, first-degree premeditated homicide, is anybody over the age of 18 who knowingly causes the death of another person upon deliberation, and that's exactly what she did. She tried to take her mother's life in March of 2011 and again on June 14th of 2011, before she even met Nick, a whole year plus before she ever even met Nick, and a whole 4 years before Nick was her co-conspirator and her accessory to her murder. She is the sole reason why this murder happened. However, the pair separated 3 months after her prison release, with Gypsy Rose reconnecting with her ex-fiancé Ken Urker shortly after. No, she had been talking to him already and plotting this. As TMZ previously reported, Gypsy Rose and Ryan were having issues prior to the separation. The duo got into a heated fight about Ryan Anderson's food hoarding. That's bullshit, because from my understanding, did he not have a lap band or a gastric bypass? My uncle had that 10 years before he passed away in 2013, and I'll tell you right now, my uncle was pushing 450 pounds, and he was literally 6'4". He was a big guy. My uncle, after having that surgery, would put his food, his takeout boxes and stuff in the fridge, and he had to start buying in smaller portions because he could only eat so much at a time. The first 6 months after he had the surgery, he could only have gelatin and liquids among his medications. So that to me sounds suspicious. Her friendship with Ken being a sore spot for Ryan Anderson, of course, because their entirety of their relationship, she kept using Ken as an excuse to break up with Ryan. She created that by manipulating him.